This episode of Straight to the Point is brought to you by Henson and Kitchen Mortuary right there in Barbersville.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Cledus Judd, and again, we're back with Straight to the Point, a video podcast for Recovery Point. And I really hope that you've enjoyed our last couple episodes from the response and the messages and so forth that we've been getting on the Recovery Point page has been incredible. I know it's I guess this is maybe 3 or 4 weeks that I've actually been able to be a part of the community in Recovery Point. I've had a chance to go to Charleston. I've been to Parkersburg and of course Huntington, and my next stop is going to be the Bluefield, West Virginia location, so I'm looking forward to that. So thank y'all so much for all the likes and shares, and it means a lot for y'all to watch and share this thing, because that's why these people are coming and sharing their stories in hopes that their story will touch somebody's heart out there and will keep somebody else from going down the same paths that some of us have went down. And when I say us, because I always try to include myself, because I'm one of them. I got Jamie here, Heather, and thank y'all so much for taking the time out, getting out of Charleston, making the ride down, and sharing your story with some people that probably need to hear it. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. Jamie, how long you been at Recovery Point now?
Since August, but I had a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
About a month. And
right. How's it going?
It's going good.
Better this time?
Much better this time now that I've surrendered.
Comes a time when you can fight it all you want, but in the end, you got two choices. You either surrender or check out, one or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Heather?
I've been there for almost 8 months.
8 months?
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Is this the first time, second time, first time?
I was there for a minute, but it's been years ago. This is the first time I've stayed there.
When you went the first time, you said you were there for a minute.
Yeah.
Was it court appointed? Did you go on your own?
It was parole sent me there, yeah. But I wasn't ready.
Just wasn't ready at that time.
No.
So how long do you think you stayed?
I wasn't there no time. Like, they took me there and I left.
As soon as you got
Yeah.
there. Knew it wasn't going to work that
Yeah,
time, right?
Yeah.
How about you, Jamie? You were there one time before. How long did you stay?
Well, I was there. I was one of the first 9 girls that went in when it opened.
Yeah.
And I was there for probably 6 months. And, I was good at running on emotions back then, so I got mad and left.
Right. What made you mad? Why'd you get mad?
Rules that I didn't want to follow.
Right, yeah. Didn't like the everything in order, getting told what to do, that sort of thing. Rebellious? Would that be a good word?
Yes. Well, it was a lot more strict back then than it is now, but it's still a hard program. I
want to kind of go back to when we were sitting at the table just maybe an hour or so ago and get a little bit of the backstory. Now, one thing you said, Jamie, is a lot of people that do these and are in recovery, like a lot of people are, they have a horrific childhood, traumatization, abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, etc. But you said growing up, you had a good childhood, right?
I did. Both my parents were married. My parents were married for 46 years when my dad passed away. Both my parents worked, but my mom was very involved in everything that I did. And my dad, he was a provider, and and they were a team.
Right.
But I've never even had a whipping, which is probably part of my problem. But I had everything that I wanted and needed, and they were just great parents.
Right.
No verbal abuse, no mental abuse, no sexual abuse, nothing like that.
How about you, Heather?
I had a very good childhood. My parents were divorced, but I had a stepdad that was there. He was there all the time, and I had a great childhood.
So, when you say that, I too had a decent childhood as well. A little bit of things later on in my teenage life. Had a stepdad that I hated his guts, which went on to be one of the best friends I ever had. Kind of like y'all, I didn't want his structure. I didn't want him telling me what to do. I was rebellious, but little did I know that man would go ahead and become one of the best friends I ever had. So with all that being said, Heather, good childhood, no traumatization to speak of. What happened? When did it all, as people say, go to hell in a handbasket? I mean, was it when drugs come into play? Was it curiosity? Was it peer pressure? And what do you think happened?
I think it was wanting to fit in more, like in school and things like that. And when I first started drinking and stuff, I realized I was very outgoing and
Kind of changed your personality,
yeah.
and you thought for the better at that time,
At
right?
that time, yes.
What about you, Jamie?
Well, I actually didn't start using until later on in life. So when I started using, I was using hardcore. I was probably 27 or 28, and I was telling you earlier that I went through a divorce, and it was the first time in my life I ever felt like I failed at something. So I was masking all that pain,
Right.
with, the drugs and the alcohol, and, eventually it became the boss.
Heather, you were saying that it started with some drinking. At what grade in high school do you think it was? Freshman, junior, sophomore?
I
What?
was 14 years old.
14
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Started drinking just
Yeah.
because you didn't feel like you really fit in with the in crowd. And so how did you discover the next step, as far as when drugs come into play? With meth, cocaine, pot, weed, what was the deal?
I smoked pot too when I was like 14, but I didn't start doing the harder stuff until I was around 19.
Right.
Is when I started to use meth. And then when my kids' dad passed away, that's when I got introduced to heroin.
Did you know the first time you used it was over
Yeah.
at that point?
Yes.
How about you, Jamie?
Oh, yeah. I was telling you earlier
Yeah.
that I did a shot of Opana and cocaine, and I looked at my boyfriend and told him he could get out. I didn't need him anymore.
That's all you needed at that point, right?
I had met the love of my life.
Right. And that's scary too, isn't it?
Profound.
And those are very profound words too, and a lot of people will be able to relate to that. Same with you, Heather.
Yes.
I mean, it's I've always said, the first time I was telling y'all that I had done meth, I was 26 or 7, and I told my buddies, I told myself, they weren't my buddies, this is it. I finally found it.
Yeah.
This is what I've been looking for 27 years. I feel like I can go out tomorrow and conquer the world. But little did I know I would spend the next 15 years or so chasing that high that was never existed. I mean, I never felt it again. I'm sure y'all didn't either. Now, as we get further into each of your stories, drug use, worse, consume pretty much life, money. You have kids,
Yes,
right? You
yes,
have children.
yes.
Children.
Yes.
You have a daughter and a son, both, right?
Right.
How did it affect your children, you think, Heather? Did it? I mean, I know that's a tough question to ask, but I think people would want to know, how do you think it affected them?
It hurt them. They've been put in they've lived with different people, multiple different people. They've had to go to different schools. They've had to switch school districts. I mean, I know it plays a big impact on their life.
And how about the impact on your life, knowing that? How does it, when you're at your quietest moments? I know for me, that's when I think the most, when nobody's around. And I think we're all bad because we're all addicts. I think we're really, really, people may not believe this, but we're really brutal on ourselves. Imagine just being a parent that has a great life and might spank their kid one time and go to bed and I go, I can't believe I just spanked Connie. But imagine what we go through, or you girls went through, by losing your kids because of that. I mean, that's got to be, I don't know if there's any more pain that one can endure than what the two of you have endured. True?
True.
How about you, Jim?
I didn't lose my kids. I kind of gave them away for it. You know what I mean? My kids were never in the system, but I was telling you earlier that I hadn't seen my son in a couple of years or spoken to him, and there's not a day that goes by I don't think about that kid, and I had to sneak into his graduation and sneak out without him knowing I was there, because
When you told me that outside, it 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 took my breath away, because the things that my daughter graduates next week, and I'll be there, and I'll walk in and I'll cry, and the whole, I can't imagine the pain that you must feel to have to sneak in one door to watch your soul, your being that you created, graduate on a day like that, and then have to sneak back out. But I can tell you, I don't know your son, but I bet you in the future, with your improvement and as hard as both of you are working, kids forgive. You're his mother. You're their mother, and it takes time. Hearts are hard. Ours are. All of ours are. Kids' hearts are more forgiving, and when they see the progress. When they see and I know the progress that both of you have made, which is amazing. But if you give them time and you pray a lot, and you just give them, words don't mean a whole lot at this point. I'm sure both of you can vouch for that. Actions, that old saying. My mom used to tell me, actions speak louder than words. But when those kids sit back and have time to reflect and go, you know what, man, yeah, my mom made bad choices. Yeah, my dad made bad choices. But I need to find it in my heart to forgive them. And when that happens, and it will, and you pray that will, man, what a great reunion. And then you can go on and live the life you were born to live. Now, before we get out of here in just a minute, I want to talk a little bit about, Heather, you said both girls, prison. I mean, we ain't talking. I mean, we're just gonna cut to the chase now. We ain't talking county jail, 4 days, 48 hours, detox, and back out. We're talking full blown state penitentiary, right?
Yes.
And how long were you in for, Heather?
I've did almost 9 years altogether.
9 years.
Yes.
Jamie?
And I've done about 10, yeah.
10 years. What was the longest stint at one time you were in prison?
3 years.
3 years. How about you?
Almost 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And I asked both of you this question, and I knew what the answer would be. If drugs had never been a part of your life, if you had never met the devil, and that's what it is, there's no way in the world ever, you'll never change my mind, you'd have wrote that check.
No, never.
You would have never wrote that check
No.
if you were in your right mind.
No.
I guess there's no rhyme nor reason to any of it, is there?
Mm-mm.
Same for you, right?
Right.
You would have never done in a million years, and I've only known you girls for 2 hours, and I'm a pretty good judge of character. Never would have happened, would it?
Never.
Never. That's how powerful that stuff is. But you're closer now, right? You're closer to being able to get out and go out and start a new life, aren't you? How much longer you got at Recovery Point? Do you know?
About 3 months, around 3 months.
And then what's the next step after that?
That's when I can choose to go into the apartments, and I'm gonna try to do my recovery coach license and things like that.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What about you, Jamie?
Same. I would like to work with people in recovery, and I think in order for me to stay clean, I'm going to have to stay in the middle of it.
Yeah, man, and we've talked. It does my heart good to. And we're going to be judged. You had said a while ago. You said maybe you're comfortable with me because you don't feel like I place judgment. Nor should anyone, because none of us on this earth have access to heaven or hell. I can lead you and you can lead me, but I don't own a heaven nor hell, so it's not up for me to place judgment on your life. I don't know your life. I don't know your life. You don't know mine. All I want to do is be able to accept, and all we want is to be accepted for our shortcomings, because we're all full of them, and there's going to be many more to come, because we kick one habit don't mean that there's another demon that we got to battle, and another one, and another one. But I'm telling you, if you get the tools, like y'all have gotten, and from Recovery Point, from the big book, from the big book called the Bible, which is the biggest, and you incorporate those tools in your life, and you have people that you depend on for mentorship, and because it ain't over yet, and you know what, I'm gonna ask your opinion. Is it ever over? It's not, is it?
No.
It's not for me either. Although clean, sober, 18 years, I'm one phone call away. I'm $100 bag away. We all are. So that's when it gets really tough. That's when you really have to revert back to the lessons learned, and man, just revert back to the heartbreak. You can't tell me that your heart ain't broke. But you can't beat yourself up forever over it. I can't beat myself up forever over it. What excites me is what the future holds for y'all. That may sound contrived, or you may or may not believe that. But how do you feel about your future? Honestly, tell me.
Well, I try not to think too far ahead, because then it
Awesome.
Freaks me out.
Yeah.
So, today it looks bright and promising.
Yep.
And our big book says, don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens. So I think I'll stick around for a little while.
How about you, Heather?
That's how I am. I try to not look too far to the future because, again, I get overwhelmed. But I've gained a lot of things back in my life. I'm starting to have a relationship with my kids.
Amen.
My family's there for me. So, I think it's going to go far as long as I stick with it.
Yeah, and I think it's great what you said about not getting too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
Because even for people that don't suffer from the addictions and things that we suffer from, it can be overwhelming. Life is big. The world is a big place, and we sometimes all get lost in a big old world. And man, you really have to depend on the right friends, the right family. But one thing I've learned that I would encourage you, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, and Joe, who we're going to have on the show as well, said it, there's no time machine that's ever been invented that you can hit that button and go back and fix that first heroin hit. You can't go back and fix that first bag of dope that you bought. You can't take any of that back, because what is done is done. And we got two choices. We either move forward or we go backwards. And man, backwards, I don't think either one of you want to go backwards.
No.
All right, I want you to do me a favor before we get out of here, and I wouldn't let you read me this letter earlier because I wanted to hear it for the first time, and I wanted people to hear it for the first time. Now tell me a little bit about the letter. What is this?
Okay, well, this is a letter that I wrote about, it's my heroin story, and it was written when I was sitting in solitary confinement in prison, because I got in trouble for doing the same things in prison as I was doing outside of prison, and I was punished for it, and I was locked down for like 6 months. And I was telling you outside that in the process I lost my brother, and my boyfriend was murdered, execution style, in my apartment. So it was a very hard, lengthy road with a lot of tears. And Heather was with me, and I wouldn't have made it if I didn't. I was in a facility, grieving in a facility where no one could even hug me. So.
And that's tough, because it's amazing what a hug can do.
Yeah.
And I want you to pull that out, take your time, and do it.
Well, I want to start off by saying, I started off saying that I'm an alcoholic, and the reason that I say that is because I have all the isms of alcoholism, and I don't make good choices on alcohol. So, anyway, I'm Jamie and I'm an alcoholic. I can repeat those words now with no reservation, hesitation, or shame. But it took a long time, lots of tragedies, and a few trips to prison before I truly realized that I have a disease that is trying to kill me. That I didn't have a problem. Now that lie took from me more than once, everything that I had, including my freedom. I lied to everyone, family, friends, strangers. I took advantage of anyone and everyone who would let me. My parents who did everything in their power to help me, my daughter who has always loved me in spite of, and a son whom I don't really even know. Without fail, I abused their trust and used them to feed my addiction. I would act insane and irrational, but for reasons I can't comprehend, they always stuck with me. I want to apologize for things I said during those times, for things I don't remember, but assume I said or did, given my pattern of behaviors. I had tried several drugs, but by 2014, heroin was my everything. I would lie for it, steal for it, miss Christmas for it, and most certainly abuse every relationship I had ever developed to get it. Heroin was my life, my thoughts, my reasons for getting up, and my ways of going to sleep. I had elaborate contingency plans on how I would get my next fix. My slide into addiction was a fast one as I adjusted my life to fit heroin's schedule. Looking back now, it is almost surreal that someone who had it so much and has had it somewhat together could fall so fast. Many of my incidents in life are like scenes from a movie. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Where the star makes the wrong choices and the decisions I made seem so irrational and unbalanced. It's almost like it wasn't me. It couldn't have been me who did those things or said those things or experienced those things. But in the final scene, it was all me. I created my own problems through the choices I made. Now that I've survived and I'm sober today, I can say without hesitation that what happened to me was a blessing from God. My high points in life have been close to heaven and my lows closest to hell. But I'm hoping that I can get a hold of it before I get a hold of my addiction, before it consumes the rest of me and destroys everything, before it kills me. You see, heroin can make me dance to whatever tune it wants to. It didn't care who I was or what I did for a living, how rich or poor I was, or whether I was black, white, or polka dot. Heroin is an equal opportunity destroyer. The drug was trying to kill me, and I was allowing it to succeed. When I talked to other addicts, it's like they had been following me around. They knew everything I'd done, everything I said, every lie I told, every abandoned house I slept in. Because all of our stories are pretty much the same. The wasted years, the misguided energies, the foolish egotisms, all the lies I told, all the things I've stole, all the feelings I've hurt. Sometimes I cry until I can't cry anymore. Answers don't always come as quickly as I like. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
Especially after a decade of bad decisions and insane behavior. I have to reconcile myself to the fact that my addiction is an incurable disease, but one I can control by simply never using again. I have to come to the realization that most of my problems I've encountered in life are of my own making. I cannot control what others do when I'm using. In fact, I cannot control what others are doing when I'm not using, but I can control my actions and how I allow things to make me feel. In learning that lesson, I have to admit my mistakes. There is no reason in blaming others or hiding behind the escape excuse, as it serves no purpose but to deflect attention away from what is clearly my responsibility. I know someday I'm going to have to sit down and explain to my children as best as I can why I acted with such careless disregard. Most non-addicts can't comprehend how a mother could do some of the things I've done. But I was so consumed by my drugs that nothing else mattered. It's beyond crazy. My judgment was impaired and my sweet children suffered. Hopefully the relationship with my kids can heal just the same, one day at a time. My son had the privilege of escaping most of it, but my precious daughter had to stand and watch me self-destruct on more than several occasions. She was forced to struggle through my addiction as much as I did. There is not enough time left on this earth to make it up to her. I pray she gets it before she's as out of hand as I have been. I want her to be spared the agony I have lived through because of my disease. The true victims of my addiction are my sweet mother and my daughter who stood witness to the devastation going on around them. I hope I can regain the bonds I once had with them. My son, too. Sorry. For that, you can't begin to learn my regret. My mom has always fought for me, stood up for me, and loved me for reasons I will never comprehend. I love her so much for it and have more gratitude for her than she will ever know. My dad, God rest his soul, was right there fighting for me all the way to the end. I miss him beyond words. I've behaved badly for a long time. My life is in God's hands now, and the two of us are working on me one day at a time. I have been spared my life yet again. Maybe that reason is to share my story with another addict so they will know that it's never too late, that you can change. And as long as I'm breathing and my heart is pumping blood, there is meaning to my life. No one is promised an easy road or a day without sorrow, even after turning your life around and doing what you know is right. Let's just pray this time I can get it right.
So I may need a minute.
Me too.
When you hear that, Heather, what does that do to your heart?
It breaks it because it's all so true.
And as much as it breaks it,
It gives me hope.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it should make you proud,
Yes.
you know, because those words don't come easy.
No.
Not one sentence in that letter was easy to write. I'm positive. But that letter on that sheet of notebook paper there will help somebody change their life. As long as I tell people, that if we're given another day and we're alive and breathing, we have a chance to make amends, and that's what I try to do every day, and I try not to beat myself up too bad. I think y'all been beat up enough, and it means a lot to me as your friend, and it means a lot to people that will see this, that the courage it takes to, and I'm gonna leave you with this because it's my go-to in life, and I hope that you'll take it for what it's worth. But you never want to do anything, or I never wanted to do anything to prove to people that they were wrong about me. I never want, if a friend didn't believe in me, or my mother, you hear people say, well, I'll show them. I'll show them I can do this. Well, the way I've always looked at it is the ones that don't believe in me don't count.
That's right.
Why work so hard at sobriety and life to prove to somebody that didn't care about you to begin with? Hell, they don't matter. Who matters is, like you were talking about your sweet dad, God rest his soul, that he believed in you. So that's who you want. I'm gonna show my dad because he believed in me, or I'm gonna show my mother who stood by me and fought for me, and my dad that said I'd never amount to nothing, that hated my guts and said I'd always be a hooker, a whore, a prostitute, a drug addict, whatever. He don't matter because he never had no faith in you to begin with.
That's right.
So it's all about. But at the end of the day, prove it to yourself, because then you can walk straighter. You'll have more confidence. And I've always said, man, when you're sober, that sunrise don't look different. Tell the truth.
Yes, completely.
We got some baby. There's a nursery right here behind us, and when you're sober, that don't get on your nerves. That's a great sound of a sweet baby crying back there.
Yes.
So life is different through sober eyes. The prisms of color are different, and y'all are special people, and I'm glad that I know you, and I'll continue to be your friend and friend. Whatever you need out of me. So you're a sweetheart. You're awesome. You are too.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. Again, I always say, hey, if you don't get help at Recovery Point, heck, get help somewhere. We got an open door policy. You got the number, it'll be on the screen and all that. Share this, hit the page, do all the things that you need to do. Leave some comments, and first and foremost, pray for the addicted, because sometimes we need all the help we can get. All right, y'all have a great day. Hope you enjoyed Straight to the Point. See ya.